So, as you can see, we are joined by Kurt Busch, driver of the #1 Global Poker Chevrolet. If you have questions, raise your hand. We'll bring the mic. Come back.
Dylan Sherwood with the Emporia Gazette. Kurt, with you being one of Clint Boyer's former teammates, what was the relationship you had with him when you were at Stewart-Haas?
Yeah, Boyer's one of those true racers that you always are curious on what he's going to say about his car or how he's going to approach a certain qualifying session or practice session. And he always did it lighthearted, did it with fun, did it with swagger. And Bowyer always lit up the room with his honesty. And it made it fun. And so, I mean, he's just one of those true dirt track racers from the Midwest that likes to go out there and sling the dirt, and there's days when he puts his collar on and straightens up and he comes to the asphalt races.
We'll go to Jerry, Lee, then Bob.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net. Asking about next week's AllStar race, your thoughts going into that, if you've given it any consideration at all?
Yeah, AllStar race next week with a little bit different front splitter and a hood configuration. I'm really looking forward to what that package will bring. The package here this weekend has been intense. It's been fun. It's a challenge already with the way practice has been shaken up, because out there by yourself, you're wide open, and it almost gives you an indication that your car's handling too good. Then you jump into the draft, and you're out there in pack drafting like Talladega, and the car is all over the place with pushing, loose, and the way the car's sliding around. And so it's a big challenge. I mean, the track conditions right now are cool, but it's still not going to be like what it will be tomorrow night in night conditions. So with next week, AllStar race, again, it's a new package, a different track, and there's so much to learn. And so I think that's what you're feeling from a lot of the drivers is the continuity and the patterns and the consistency isn't there right now, because each week we go to these tracks for the first time, the packages are all over the place. And so even like a tire that we ran last week, I think this is the same left side tire, it's acting completely different at Kansas than what it does at Dover. So right now, a lot of people are just kind of bouncing around like a ping pong ball on their setups, and that's why there's the action.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, Racing Boys. First of all, can you talk a little bit about the Poker Face sponsorship deal you guys have going on this week?
Yeah, with Global Poker, it's a great advertising campaign to create attention for our brand. With Global Poker, they want everybody social media-wise to activate onto their site and to send in their best poker face. And then there's going to be a chance for a grand prize type of effect for tons of people to have their face literally on our race car at Martinsville Speedway in the playoffs. So it's a fun initiative, social media-wise, awareness-wise, and more action and traction for Global Poker for everybody to send in. It's a hashtag your poker face, and send that on in, and then that way you get a chance to get your face on the car.
And Boyer's turning 40, and since you've already kind of passed that milestone, can you give him a little bit of advice as far as what he has to look forward to?
Bowyer will probably be midlife crisis status. I don't know. he's gonna take it pretty abruptly. It's interesting with each year that you come back to the tracks, and the experience level that you have and the confidence level, and cresting 40, I've just had to learn to ignore it. I feel like with this package, the way that our sport feels right now on this youth movement and this exuberating and fun challenge, I feel like I just have to revert back to being 25 again, and 40 is just a number.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. As you were talking about tires earlier, it sounds like that they're not wearing as much because you guys don't maybe slide the car as much. I mean, how much difference do you, like, how noticeable is maybe the lack of tire wear, or just the difference in tire wear this year compared to last year?
That's a good question. It's tough to really even describe it, because we're going through the corner. Like last week, we were going through there 17 miles an hour quicker. And we had the horsepower last week to challenge the car on corner exit. This week, the horsepower is down, and so it comes back more into drafting. And if you're out there in clean air, you hardly have an issue with tire wear. But when you're in dirty air, when you're back in the pack, you're working twice as hard, then your tire wear really increases. And so it's a weird, the rich get richer or the fast get faster. When you're up front, you don't have as much tire wear and tire air pressure buildup. When you're in the back or like 5th place back on to 15th, those are the guys working the hardest, and those are the ones that see the most tire wear and the most air pressure buildup.
Claire?
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM, NASCAR Radio. It was really interesting what you said about, you know, the different packages every week. Is it a situation, is that why the drivers are a little frustrated, and that, you know, if we do it again, say, next time, you would then figure out each individual week, and, you know, when it's the second time we do this, that you guys wouldn't be as frustrated, or are you thinking there should be kind of the same package all the time?
Well, it is basically the same package
Yeah.
at the 1.5 miles, but we're going to the tracks for the first time. And so Kansas is acting completely different than what we thought. And the most recent notes for 1.5 miles was Texas. But Texas has two completely different ends of the racetrack, where it's high banked in turns 3 and 4, flat, what we call flat. It's not banked as much in turns 1 and 2. So this feel in the car today, everybody's kind of, our group at Ganassi is like, this is almost more like Vegas. And the last time, Vegas was from March. So we're jumping back 2 months, but also we've learned so much since March. That's again throwing more oddities into the balance and the feel of what the drivers are feeling. So I think when we come back here, you know, for the playoff race, it'll be much more calm, so to speak.
And it also has been described to us as more of a mental game, like a chess game kind of thing, which would seem to fit right up your alley. You and your brother, actually, that have kind of are strategic racers.
There's the Talladega and Daytona effect that's starting to happen now on the 1.5 miles because we are wide open. But the handling still comes into play, but what happens is it's more like a light switch. And that's where the good teams will learn how to take off the sharpness and the edginess that the cars have, and that way you race better in the pack. You race better in the draft.
Alexa Henry and Motor Racing Network. I have 2 questions, actually, right here. Obviously, next week we go back to Charlotte in the lead up to the Coke 600. Can you describe, when you did the double a couple of years ago, the preparation you did physically before, during, and after, just so that you could physically go for both races?
For me, I started January 1st as a mental approach to working out twice as hard. And the gym was 3 hours from 3 miles from the house. And so I would run to the gym, then do the exercises and mix things up, whether it was martial arts one day, a lot of cardio another day, strength training another day, and then run back home. And so I was really prepared with all of the extra physical activity. And then I checked in with Jimmy Johnson about nutrition and adjusting things for the month of May, and then went on what you would call a super low carb diet the week of, and then carb loaded on race weekend. And I felt like Superman. And the preparation from myself mentally, physically, with nutrition, the actual 1,100 miles were, I'm not going to say easier than I thought, but I was prepared and I did it months in advance.
And then my second part is, can you describe what a big weekend for racing all over the world Memorial Day weekend is?
Yeah, I love Memorial Day weekend. It's a chance for all of motorsports to shine. I was always looking forward to getting the USA Today and seeing what they would put on there from Memorial Day weekend in the sports section, to see the cars in Monaco, or to see the cars in Indianapolis, to see our cars at Charlotte. It's like an unofficial weekend for motorsports to shine, and it kind of kicks off summer. Kids are getting close to getting out of school, and you always hope that it motivated families to come out to our events and racetracks around the country.
Go to Nick, and then we're actually going to have to wrap with Kurt so we can get Joey in here. Sorry, Jeff.
Nick Bromberg, Yahoo Sports. You mentioned all the new variables that are now in play here, and also obviously earlier in the season. How do you as a driver adjust mentally to that, knowing that the notebook of data you have in your head built up is probably thrown out the window now when you got out today?
It's been wild. Everything seems to be different. Even like media sessions, we now have to do media after qualifying, and that was usually just for the top guys and the top rookie. There's media sessions for the top manufacturer or the fastest laps in practice. There's just so many new things. You just got to roll with it. But a lot of, I think, the driver's frustration was the process in qualifying, and now we've got that nipped. And so I think there's a new freshness, a new feel, and the product on track still needs to be talked about on race weekend, and not how we got to that. But there's just the racing action. That's what I think we need to try to focus more on.
All right, thanks, Kurt. Appreciate your time.